Hey there, I'm Ben, and this is an intro to Oz, which is our orchestration platform for running cloud agents. We're going to walk through how to set up a cloud agent for the first time, how all the pieces connect together, so that you can start using cloud agents yourself. The simplest place to start is the web interface. This works on desktop and on mobile, by the way. You can go to oz.warp.dev. You can sign in with your Warp account or make a new one. Once you're set up, you'll have an overview page of everything that your agents have done. For you, it'll probably be empty. For me, you can see I have a couple agent jobs that I've tried in the past on this account. Now, let's say I want to spin up a cloud agent that has access to this code repository. I can start by setting up an environment with that repository defined. Going to the Environments tab, you have an option up here to create a new environment. I'll give it a name, you can have an optional description, and I'm going to put in my repository. After authenticating with GitHub, we'll autocomplete these options for you. And you'll notice you can add as many as you want. So if I wanted to add my documentation repo, for example, I can add that too. Then you can use an agent to suggest the right Docker image for you. This will go through the code bases that have been attached, figure out the languages that they're using, and pick a Docker image that fits the stack best. And if your tech stack's a little more exotic and we don't have a Docker image specifically for it, you can run create environment and pass along the code repositories from here. This will spin up an agent to go through the same set of files and create the Docker image for you. In my case, though, I'm just using JavaScript, so I'll head back to the web UI and use the suggested flow. You can also add setup commands if you need to, or just leave it bare and have the agent figure out how to run your test scripts and install dependencies. Now I'll just hit create environment, and I'll be able to use this for agent runs. Now to run my first agent, I'm going to go to the runs tab, hit new run, and I'm going to specify what I want the agent to do. You can prompt the agent manually if you just want to use the prompt box, or you can use a set of skills. We have predefined skills for you to easily reach for workflows like auditing a website for SEO and AEO, which is agent engine optimization. You also have an accessibility audit, performance, testing, Terraform if you're doing backend deployments, all sorts of stuff. And if you have your own skills, if you put those inside of the code repository that you upload to your environment, those skills will appear here as well. And we support all of the standards like .claude, .agents, etc. In my case, because I put my docs repo inside of that environment, I'm going to use the pre-built SEO audit command, and I'm going to add an extra prompt to go to that documentation folder for auditing. Then I'll connect that environment I configured, use Warp hosted runners, although you can set up custom hosts as well if you want to, and I'll just run it one time to show you how it works. When you kick off a run, you'll get the full status of everything going on, so you get the run ID for debugging, you can get an overview of the prompt that was passed, and we can also see once it starts running, you can view the agent session. You can look at this in the Warp application or on the web. This is really convenient if you're on your phone and you want to see what an agent is doing. This is actually a full WASM build of the Warp terminal in your browser, which makes it very easy to debug as if you're on your own machine. And then once the agent is done, you can see all of the artifacts that were generated. So here we can see a branch that it checked out, a planning document that was written, and you can look at that planning document right inside of here, and a way to view the pull request that was opened. Here we can see it made some pretty comprehensive changes, like noticing a missing canonical URL in our title bar and adding a robots.txt for better search engine discoverability. And you can click into all of those artifacts from the web UI using these charms right here. Like if I want to jump straight to the plan, I can click on that and view on the web. Or if I want to jump straight to the PR, I can do so from here as well. Now let's say we want to apply the same SEO skill or agent to run on a schedule. So in this case, I want to do a weekly audit of my website. If we click on this View Agent button that's next to all of your runs, you can see the source skill that was used for this. And this is one of our pre-built skills that we give you, of course. Clicking on the Schedules tab, you can set up a new schedule right from here. I'm going to give it a name like Weekly SEO Audit. I'll give it the same additional prompt and tie it to the environment. And down here, we can set up our schedule. So here I've selected weekly, but you could also do daily, monthly, or even custom if you want to add a full cron string similar to a GitHub action. I've set this up to run on weekdays, and when I create my schedule, now the agent's going to run on a predictable interval. And if you want to make sure your skill is set up correctly, you can click this and run now if you want to check on your schedule. With that set up, let's touch on the CLI. So if you have the Warp terminal installed, you'll also have access to the Oz CLI. And if you don't, we have installation instructions to set this up on any operating system. You don't even need Warp to access it. And this gives you all of the commands to work with the data that we saw in the web UI. For example, here I could use environment list to see all the environments that I have configured. And if you scroll up here, we can see our open source repo is already set up with the description of the Docker container, the ID that we can bind to workflows, and everything else. I can also call schedule list, and this will list out all of our scheduled jobs. So we can see 2 schedules here, including the weekly SEO audit that we just set up. There's also an output format flag, so if you want to output as JSON or text to make it more agent mode friendly, you can do so. And speaking of agent mode, there's a built-in skill for the Warp agent mode that teaches it how to use the Oz CLI to do these workflows on your behalf. Then the agent will use the built-in Oz skill to use the CLI in the same way that you can. Here we get a nicely formatted summary of the same schedule list. But more interestingly, the Oz CLI lets you manipulate parts of your stack as well. So if you wanted to update a schedule, you can do that from the CLI. If you want to update your environment to add more dependencies, you can do that from the CLI as well. Here I'm going to ask it to add a GitHub repository to that environment we set up. And with a bit of tool calling, it's able to retrieve the environment with that name and add a new repository to it. So now everything is set up for me to start writing agents against this new coding repository. Now let's say you want to start a cloud conversation from the terminal. This is useful if you want to kick off multiple jobs in parallel without them all fighting for computing power on your machine. You can do that with this shortcut right here, Command Option Enter. This will be a little different on Windows, but you get a nice call out with a new tab. Start agent conversation. And now you can start a new conversation in Warp, but SSH'd into a cloud environment. And you can click from all of those environments that we saw from the web UI. And you can interact just like you do with local agent conversations. You can send off a prompt, and then it will spin up a cloud environment to continue that conversation on that machine. Now we can work with the agent and have a nice overview panel on the side to see what the agent is currently doing. And you can even tab away and come back to continue monitoring this agent as it goes. And if you want to steer the agent at any point, you can just send a prompt while the agent is working. And when the agent's done, you can see the full PR that was generated. And if you want to continue it locally to view the dev server on your machine, clicking on that will give you a convenient command to check out the branch that the agent created. And there's so much more that we didn't even cover. For example, you can also trigger agents from a GitHub action. We have a pre-configured runner right here, Warp Agent Action. You can find this in our examples guide in the docs. And all you'll need is to pass in an API key, and you'll be able to get pre-built PR reviews. Here's an example review that we got on our internal codebase just recently, where it makes observations, it finds a verdict, and it can even suggest changes in line so that you don't have to have a back and forth conversation. And you can build entire applications that can trigger agents using the REST API or the TypeScript and Python SDKs. Here's a crazy example, also open source, that lets you triage GitHub issues. We use this internally to review all of our inbound user issues on GitHub. And you can see there's a number of buttons down here to use agents to dedupe issues, triage, or investigate and fix. And all of that is being powered by a REST API. And here we're using Rust to trigger an agent using our REST API at agent/run, passing along a skill and a profile and updating the UI as the agent works. Check out the docs for REST and SDKs for more info on that. I hope this gets you excited to try out Oz. Try clicking on New Run and run your first agent.